Here we are, beautiful sunny morning up in the hills of WA. We're just getting ready for our trip over to Bathurst, and rather than going just as a known, well-running machine, we've decided to upgrade and try the Fast LSX HR manifold. We'll just have partially fitted it. She's not fully finished yet. We'll run her up on the dyno and see if we can see how she goes and how much more power, and if we're happy with it, we'll finish hooking it all up and modify the bonnet and the bracing and everything we've got to do to make sure she's all going to be a good thing. We've done our diff ratio as well, so the old diffs there, the new diffs sitting out. We'll run it down to TuneCorp, down the hill, get Shannon to do some magic, and fingers crossed we can get a run and a treat. So the other thing that's popped up is Winton's a week after now, so we're going to try to see whether we can sneak in 2 events in 2 weeks over east. So we'll keep you posted, we'll load her up, we'll get down and give her a tune, so there she goes. Right, so we just loaded her up, just giving her a bit of a run up while she's getting on and off. Not super happy with the lander numbers. Another thing we have done is actually made another little fuel tank. Ronnie's done some magic alley welding like he does for us. Squeeze an extra few litres because there's big 10 lap races at Bathurst, which is going to be a heap of fuel for us. And I've been measuring it using unleaded. I've drained it and switched it over to ethanol, and I'm just wondering whether I left a little bit of unleaded behind. So we'll drain it all out again, throw some of it in the tow car, we'll use it up, we won't throw it out, but then we'll go get a fresh batch of fuel and fill it up with fresh stuff ready for the dyno, just to be 100%. Easier to do that than tune it up on some weird blend. Righto, let's give that a go. Righto, we're just a little bit early for the dyno, so we stopped down at Alan's Quality Batteries in Winton. Okay, Alan, he's obviously famous from pit crewing for the team, some record breaking runs in WA and South Australia. Mate, they got a load of obviously batteries, especially your race batteries or your lithium stuff. So when you need stuff, make sure you come down to Quality Batteries Winton. Back from spending a good 4 or 5 hours on the dyno. Shannon doing some magic, went there from being real undrivable at all to getting a good tune out of her. We got a bit excited there when we saw some big numbers flash up, pumping up towards the 620. But a bit deeper analysis shows actually losing a lot of horsepower through the majority of the range. And it's not until about 6.5 that it really sort of starts to take over. And then it just takes off from there and gives us a whole heap up through to 7.2 before the limiter kicks in. That's a good 40 plus horsepower we were pulling from previously, and that's final run was with the air cleaner off. So we've also found out that we're getting robbed by 10 horsepower from our air cleaner. So we have to fab up a new pod type cleaner, go away from this, make up an airbox with a pod filter. We're gonna have to get our brace fitted back in the engine bay, because although we are down a bit of power through the majority of the range, that peak power is probably going to be beneficial to us. We spend a lot of time in that area down the straights, She doesn't get much relaxing time down low, so we'll fab that up somehow and get that one to fit. Obviously it fitted before with the standard manifold, but this one sort of runs through where we wanted it, up in this position here. So we'll have to just drop it down a bit lower, shorten her up a bit, get her in. Bit of mods to the bonnet. Our alternator died on the Dyno, our brand new alternator. So that'll give us something to play on, save sleeping I suppose. Keeps us off the streets. Yeah, I'm gonna go get into it. See you later. Changed that alternator out, put my old faithful one back in, and she's running a dream. Obviously it's a nice fun spot right down the bottom. We'll button up a couple little covers in the morning. Oh, I managed to break a O-ring seal and made a big mess. That's why there's water all over the ground. Had to do a bit of cleaning up. Always go backwards to go forwards. We've got our engine bay brakes in now. Hopefully that will clear our bonnet vents. Hopefully I'll con someone into giving me a bit of a hand to lift the bonnet back on tomorrow. We will see how it all goes tomorrow, and a little bit of sway bar setup changes I've got to remember to do for Barbagella, and we'll take her out and do a bit of test lapping around and see how it goes. Yeah. Right, back into it. Sunday morning, a little bit fresher. Myself and the weather. I got a bit of a mess to clean up from yesterday. We're going to put the under trays on, the other tray, do the sway bar adjustment, and we'll get the bonnet on, we'll do our wheels, we'll get it all ready to load up for practice tomorrow. And I'm going to try and take an opportunity to start playing, dumbing up our cage mods to step it up to a national cage, get it ready for Winton. It's pretty much just a windscreen pillar reinforcement bar we've got to do, and try and see how we can get that in there and get it all happy. Okay, let's play. So still just chipping away, and we got a little bit carried away. Francis from No Fear Racing just helped us bend up a couple of windscreen reinforcement pillars that we're missing to make it a national cage. So I'm going to see if we can squeeze them in tonight, get it down, get it loaded up, go to practice day. Well, we've got dawn service and then we'll go to practice day tomorrow. See how that goes. Right, so we've got our windscreen pillar reinforcement bars in. Hopefully haven't damaged any wiring. Obviously spark stuff going everywhere, so cover as much as we can. One thing I had to do is disconnect my main oil line to my tank. I just wanted to show a little secret. Oh, these little transducers, they're not a secret, but they're a cool little tool. Just creates a venturi, fills the oil tank with a vacuum so you can pull your hose off at the bottom and hopefully no oil comes out. So make sure your compressor's up to the task, because it turns off halfway through or something like that. I'm going to have an oil filled cabin. So we're going to give this a bit of a crack. I will see what happens. I've got to get my earplugs first because it is loud. Right. There it goes. There's a fair bit of misty oil. I did spill a couple of drops, but I'll wipe that up pretty quickly. Done half a dozen laps. The new manifold. It's good. It's a bit tricky to tell with the Bathurst diff ratio. It took me a few laps to realise why I wasn't able to get top gear, and I'm a gear out from everywhere. But yeah, she's a wildly different ratio. So running the second-hand alternator, that seemed to be fine. The new belt I put on jumped the tooth, so she's destroyed the new belt. I have to fix that up. Clutch is noisy. Fix that up. Bunch of other things to fix. We'll spend the rest of the day just helping out Brian with his Mustang down here for the first time. So yeah, I'll look at some data later on and see what we come up with. Alright, back in the shed after our day playing around at the track. Unfortunately, the noise in my clutch as I went to put it on the trailer developed into the clutch jamming on and burning my clutch. So it just ripped the gearbox out. And me clutch. So the bearing, throwout bearing, is done a bearing and seized. That's worn away my fingers on my clutch. And then right at the end there, this piston's obviously, with that sort of doing that, it's spun the piston, and the piston's a bit rough there now. So it's come out, and then it's actually got stuck on. So it's stuck on and then slipped my clutch and burnt my clutch out. So I'll go through, just measure these up. I've got the measurements written on there from every other time I've measured it, so I'll see what they're at now. It's been in there for a while. Measured it, been measuring it since 2017, so it's probably been in there for 5-6 years at least. So we had a good run out of it. Just hoping the flywheel's going to be all right. So I got to chase up getting one of those. Got to get my alternator. The old alternator worked a treat, but I want to suss out my new one, get warranty and get that back in there. Done a belt too. It's jumped over a seat. Yeah, it's jumped over a spot there, so I think maybe when I've re-welded up the plate, it hasn't quite been as straight as I wanted it to, so I maybe have to straighten that up. So pull all that back off the motor plate. That's great fun. Got to get another diff. I'm having a second diff set up ready for Winton. But yeah, the beauty of having a detachable firewall, and just pop that out, lift the gearbox out top. Doesn't take much time. Just lift that out and then pull the gearbox out. You just lift the gearbox by hand. So anyhows, that was a weekend gone, and plenty more to go, and I've got about a week or so before I want to be leaving for Bathurst. So being WA, it's hard to get parts over quickly, so we might just have to scrounge up some second-handy stuff to get it running. See how we go. Righto, we'll keep you posted. Okay, well that was a good typical weekend. It was a long weekend, Anzac Day weekend, playing on the car. Plans of just doing a little bit and spending some time other than working on the car, but quickly a few things go wrong when you spend the whole time there working on it. Just want to do a quick little summary of more related to the dyno and practice day. So I'll show you. I've only got a photo of the dyno run out. The bluey coloured line is the final run we did with the air cleaner in. We come up to 612 horsepower. With the air cleaner removed, it was an extra 10 horsepower. It was just pretty much 10 all the way through. So we'll have to look at fixing up that air cleaner. These other two runs you can see, the yellow run was the run I did at the start of the year, and then the red run was after I put my new exhaust on. So I've actually lost a lot of power through here, and then once you get to about 6,000 RPM, the exhaust added power but robbed it below it. The manifold's done almost the same thing. We're about that 6,000 RPM and then it just takes off. You can see 50 odd horsepower here, but you're losing almost the same amount here through this mid-range, which on anything other than a race car is obviously a pretty big deal. The thing you got to remember is the RPM range we're really operating in. So I'll just quickly go to a bit of data here. So this is me on the start of the straight at Wanneroo. You can sort of see my mouse down the bottom here. Full throttle, I'm sitting, the lowest I get is 4.8. Now I can easily run another gear there. I'm just gonna sort of zoom through the lap. Quickly just to do that. You can see into the final turn down the bottom there, I'm bogging right down to, again, that's not full throttle there, but so I go to full throttle and I'm sitting at 5.7. So I'm already at 5.7 before I hit full throttle. And when I'm going down the straight, it's between 6 and 7. So I never see anything other than 6 and 7 on the straight. I'll bring that back over there, and you can see here coming along, third gear. That's the exit of turn 1. and you're bogging it down, full throttle there. Well, let me stop that and go back. Full throttle is, yeah, that's, you're right up there, $6 there. So it's really, I just needed to grab an extra gear coming out of the bowl out the back, and I'm going to be up around that $6 So yes, it does actually look pretty horrible in the dyno, but realistically, it's where I want the power. So the only other quick one, I haven't even looked at this yet. Practice I did with the big diff ratio in it. So comparing the two laps, a lot slower, 3 seconds a lap slower almost, but horrible lap times. Oh, what have we done here? Horrible tyres, you know, full of traffic, not really going hard. But if I just go to, well, yeah, you see I'm not getting on full throttle until way much later. But when I do get on, so I just try to go to the same point. I'm starting the straight, the speed I'm starting the straight at. So that's, I'll put it when I hit full throttle on the greener tyres. So it's 121, but I'm at 100. But I'm actually starting with a similar speed. So both are starting with a similar speed. Let's just see whether that extra power is gonna push me anything further down the straight. So straight away, I'm 10 k's an hour up there, and I'm braking a lot earlier too with me old tyres. So I'll just go there, and I'm 8 k's an hour up. Yeah, 8 k's an hour up on, you know, worse tyres. Diff ratio is not ideal. So it looks like that power gain is gonna be a bit of a bonus for us. 8 k's is big. That's huge. So we'll be happy to see how that goes. All right. Well, thanks for tagging along. That was one weekend. I've got to get straight back into it. I've ordered all my clutch and all that sort of stuff, so I've got to go start prepping for that. Hopefully that rocks up tomorrow. Get that in, get it ready this weekend, load it up and drive over to Bathurst. Look out.